interest, but his right to do so is derived from his nature as man and from the function of moral values in human life, and therefore is applicable only in the context of a rational, objectively demonstrated and validated code of moral principles which define and determine his actual self-interest. It is not a license to do as he pleases, and it is not applicable to the altruist's image of a selfish brute, nor to any man motivated by irrational emotions, feelings, urges, wishes, or whims. That is said as a warning against the kind of Nietzschean egoists who, in fact, are a product of the altruist morality and represent the other side of the altruist coin. The men who believe that any action, regardless of its nature, is good, if it is intended for one's own benefit, just as the satisfaction of the irrational desires of others is not a criterion of moral value. Neither is the satisfaction of one's own irrational desires. Morality is not a contest of whims. See Mr. Brandon's articles, Counterfeit Individualism and Isn't Everyone Selfish, which follow. A similar type of error is committed by the man who declares that since man must be guided by his own independent judgment, any action he chooses to take is moral if he chooses it. One's own independent judgment is the means by which one must choose one's actions. But it is not a moral criterion, nor a moral validation. Only reference to a demonstrable principle can validate one's choices. Just as man cannot survive by any random means, but must discover and practice the principles which his survival requires, so man's self-interest cannot be determined by blind desires or random whims, but must be discovered and achieved by the guidance of rational principles. This is why the objectivist ethics is a morality of rational self-interest or of rational selfishness. Since selfishness is concerned with one's own interests, the objectivist ethics uses that concept in its exact and purest sense. It is not a concept that one can surrender to man's enemies, nor to the unthinking misconceptions, distortions, prejudices, and fears of the ignorant and the irrational. The attack on selfishness is an attack on man's self-esteem. To surrender one is to surrender the other. Now a word about the material in this book. With the exception of the lecture on ethics, it is a collection of essays that have appeared in the Objectivist newsletter, a monthly journal of ideas edited and published by Nathaniel Brandon and myself. The newsletter deals with the application of the philosophy of objectivism to the issues and problems of today's culture, more specifically with that intermediary level of intellectual concern which lies between philosophical abstractions and the journalistic concretes of day-to-day existence. Man must act for his own rational